Hey, welcome to another episode of Tech Talk. I am your host, Jeff Hootselle. I'm the Chief Cloud Officer with Auditmacs. As you guys know, Tech Talk is a conversation show. We talk to IT leaders and subject matter experts around all areas of technology. We talk to folks around the country and hear about some of the interesting things they're doing. And today we've got a fantastic guest with us. We've got Michael Bray. Michael is the Chief Information and Security Officer with the Vancouver Clinic out in Vancouver, Washington. So Michael, thanks for joining us.
Hello, thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. So I love, first of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't address the hat. I think it's fantastic. You may be one of the more stylish guests we've had on in a while. So tell me about the hat a little bit. What you guys have going on in the company.
It's for some of us, it's trying to just mix it up a little bit with the COVID. We're working from home. That was a big shift for us. So try to keep some of that camaraderie that we have. We're a very tight team. Throwing a hat on here and there. I did move to my sunroom. This isn't my normal office, but I got windows here, so it's kind of nice to take advantage of being able to work from home with some windows. But yeah, throw a hat on, a little bit more relaxing for us, keep that team chemistry going.
Yeah, I think it's great. That's one thing I think we've all been challenged with is this kind of new environment of, usually you have that office cooler conversation and you get a chance to catch people in the hallway and talk in kind of a casual fashion and everything else. And this, now that we're all kind of pushed and forced remote, keeping things fresh and keeping people engaged, like I said, keeping that culture intact has been a challenge to it. So it sounds like you guys are doing some fun stuff there and keeping your team connected.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a little challenging for us, but we're doing pretty good.
Yeah. So Michael, talk about it a little bit. So obviously your focus is on the security side of the house and protecting all your company data and really, just thinking about all the different threats that are out there. As you kind of look at everything that's going on with the COVID-19 and the pandemic, how has that affected your approach when it comes to things like cybersecurity and kind of your internal security posture and policies as a company?
It's had a huge effect. I would say the biggest thing is just, eyes on glass. It's forced us to really look at our processes too and making sure that our processes are solid. Waste no crisis, right? We all tell each other that. So it's been an opportunity for the organization to really rally and look at our process improvement, to make sure our pillars are sound, to be able to do this transition. We went from just a handful of people working from home, no telehealth whatsoever, to both a telehealth program and a telework program in literally 5 days. It was a huge initiative for us. That's a heavy lift. And we've been successful at it because our base pillars were so solid. So it's been quite the transition. As far as the threat landscape, it's a lot different, right? We've got a lot more folks working from home. The threat landscape's expanded. We've stayed on top of the threat intelligence community from the initial start. We actually kind of got a head start, kind of holistic in our approach to threat intelligence. It can be from all kinds of sources and things. When we first heard conference being canceled, several conferences, and then HIMSS, I think 3 or 4 days before HIMSS, which is a major international conference held every year, when we heard rumors that was going to be canceled and then canceled, that day we started to spin up resources. We started to spin up internal conversations. We started to get it in the ear of our executive leadership and our board that there probably is going to be some major changes with COVID coming in. If they're going to cancel that large of a conference, that short of notice, that's healthcare specific, then this virus is probably very, very serious. So that gives us a little bit of a head start.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned the concept of kind of these pillars that you have, your concept of IT. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that and what that means to you.
So that's our operational security and compliance pillars. We want to bake that in as a concept from the ground up. So always have a basically operations mindset, security mindset, and compliance mindset when you're doing things. So like, let's say as a system owner, whether you're building a system or you're doing a major upgrade for VMware or Citrix or Cisco or your firewall, or you're onboarding 100 servers over the weekend for your EHR platform, it's thinking holistically, what's the connection operations, right? You got to keep the lights on, you got to keep the systems up and running. What's the relationship to security? How's it hardened? How's it secured? How's it meeting those standards from the beginning of the life cycle? And then the compliance, how's it tied into PCI or HIPAA or other regulatory requirements that we have? So that's kind of a big piece on the pillars. That's from an IT perspective. we take that approach across the entire system of the other organization. So that's like having to spin it up, make sure your steering committee is solid. Where in the past, maybe, you know, people might not show up. It's been going on for a few years, not a big deal. Now it's critically important that they're showing up. So making sure your compliance program committee is spun up correctly. Your HIC for us, SNT, we spun up a situation management team very, very early on. I believe that was led by our chief medical officer, and selected people from the operations, the clinical side, the IT side. It's a kind of a collaborated effort from a mix of people within the clinic, probably about a dozen of them. And they were instrumental in the beginning to have a central voice, have a central place to process all the information coming out the clinic. So that was one thing we did early, and we're still using that. And they give us debriefs every day. We all feed things to that group, the SMT group, and they've been outstanding, I would say, in all this as well. Part of that is to make sure that our processes and our pillars are solid. We've got open communications. We continue to mature our agile concepts that we onboarded in the clinic a few years ago. Open more communication, tier huddles, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, kind of keeping the communication as fluid as possible.
Yeah, you talked about the communication side. I mean, that's, you mentioned kind of at the start of this, you guys only had a handful of people working remotely. Then you immediately, within a couple of days or 5 days, have to shift everyone to remote, or a good percentage of your folks to remote. You know, we started thinking about how we protect the company and that threat surface changing and expanding. What has that been like to try and communicate out and educate your folks that are working remote on just how to be responsible and be safe when it comes to kind of the data integrity and how they're interacting, you know, with your different systems?
It's been very challenging, but our approach to that is lots of communication through the SMT, through our tier huddles, emails, e-learnings have been critical. So our onboarding, historically, we are kind of different. We've been able to have a 2-day new employee orientation where we're present. So the CISO is present, the CEO, the chief medical officer. We all have opportunity to interact with the new employees, kind of like a classroom environment, like students. That's all gone now with social distancing. At least it's suspended at this point. So we have to rely heavily on the e-learnings, the LMS, making sure our policies are current and that the folks are attesting to them. So as far as like working from home, that they understand the requirements that we have to keep their home offices safe and to meet compliance requirements that we have and business requirements. I would say lots of video conferences. We work through the directors and managers. So we define business owners and system owners. So when we define a business owner at that level, we kind of work through them to then delegate down to their team members for the expectations that we have. It's also a two-way channel for the employee to go back through to say, hey, I need a wrap, my wrap doesn't work, or I'm not comfortable with our email procedures, our email policy, they're complicated, I don't understand them. So we kind of work through that, through the management directors, through e-learnings, through email, through WebExes with video with the employees as well.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have done an amazing job of just that infrastructure and internal communication piece on this to keep everybody on the same page and really build those systems out. So if there is an incident or a problem or something like that, you guys can address them quickly. You know,
yeah, it's definitely challenging. We used to like go, you know, we still do, you know, where we can go on site in the morning, sit with a team, sit with a group, sit with a department, and that gives them an opportunity to ask security questions or compliance questions or HR questions or finance questions, whatever it is. We still try to do it, but we're doing it more virtual. And we're still figuring it out as we go.
Yeah,
we don't believe that we're going to.
Yeah, I think we're all still trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're also operating as we're going to be a business, right? Business as usual with a twist, right? We don't want to get in the culture and mindset where we're operating our business as we're going to go out of business or things are never going to be the same. It's just going to be different. So we're still expanding, we're still building, we're still growing. We're full speed ahead, but we're doing it with the COVID and social distancing mindset in mind as we develop our building sites and we develop our workflows. So yeah, we're just pushing hard.
Yeah, Michael, what do you think the kind of the lasting lesson is from this situation and kind of the pandemic? Is obviously we don't know what's going to come next. We all hope it's going to get better and everything, but as you kind of look at everything we've been through in the last 90 to 120 days, and all the change and all the new systems you're having to put in place, what do you think kind of the lasting either benefit from this or just, thing that's going to change the most about kind of the way we work going forward?
I think we're going to benefit. I had a great mentor in my life, several great mentors, but one of them, she told me, never let the size of a solution stop you from working on the problem. And I think we need to take that as all of us in this society around the world. This is a problem that we can all solve, and it's an opportunity to solve that together. And I think it's going to be wonderful. I think we can figure a lot of stuff out of this. I think we can, moving forward, have a different future that can be better in some ways and more mature in some ways. It's going to be different, but I think we're going to get through it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We always want problem solvers, right?
Yeah, I think you guys sound like you've been pretty. And you guys have been pretty nimble through this. And you talked about how you guys have jumped into telemedicine and all these other things, different areas of the company to be more flexible. I think it's really a credit to you and a credit to the organization and your team of all the stuff you guys have done. Hey, for folks that want to find out a little bit more about Vancouver Clinic and what you guys offer and kind of your mission in the community, where can they go to find out more about you?
We're tvc.org, www.tvc.org. We're a private healthcare clinic. We're independently owned, which is incredible in today's world. We're fairly large. We cover all medical aspects, I think, almost everything as a clinic. We are, I believe we're the largest or the only independently owned clinic west of the Mississippi, which is cool. I'm not confident on exactly what that means, but it's pretty cool. But it's kind of scary at the same time when you think of all these corporations buying up healthcare institutions. So we were able to do a lot of things a lot more flexible. During this COVID, we had to furlough a quarter of our workforce. We didn't lay them off. The owners and the board worked together to take cuts on PTO, do some salary freezes, do some, I think even some salary cuts possibly, to make sure that those folks did not get laid off. And we're bringing them all back on board now as well. So I don't know if you could do that through a corporation. So that's one thing that's a little bit different from us. I think it's outstanding. But yeah, we're www.tvc.org, privately owned healthcare clinic. And I think we're pretty awesome. Really, that's awesome. Really wonderful people.
Yeah, that's great to hear, what you guys have done to keep that team together, and really that everyone's kind of stepped in and made those different changes and sacrifices to help keep those things in place. So hopefully, not too far in the future, we'll be back to some semblance of normal soon and have all that full staff back up in there. And but I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on the show today, Michael, and giving your perspective on some stuff. Next time I'll have my hat. I'll wear that. We'll join up together. Yes. But it's been great, and we really appreciate it.
All right, I appreciate it, Jeff.
All right, thanks so much.
Have a good day.
Yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in as well. We hope to see you on our next Tech Talk.